Hello and welcome back to another episode of Some Like It Pop, where we take a bi-weekly look at all the things in pop culture. I'm Bradley Stern, the editor-in-chief of PopCrush.
I'm Samantha Vincenti, the managing editor of PopCrush.
I'm Ali Zubiak, the associate editor of PopCrush.
I'm Matt Donnelly. I'm a senior writer at PopCrush.
And today, we are riding the M train.
Oh, and what a ride it is.
This is where we insert a shock jock sound of a train.
Oh, we so should, yes. Note to producer. So today we are going to talk about the fact that Meghan Trainor had her video for the single Me Too taken down for about 24 hours, give or take, because of some editing issues that she had with the final cut of the video.
Which I have to say I did not immediately notice, but others did immediately notice.
I immediately noticed.
Ali
it was
immediately
very
noticed.
obvious to me. I thought it was on purpose.
Walk us through how you noticed and when you noticed.
Because you can't, the
Well.
footage in question doesn't appear until about 75% of the way.
So the point is I did watch the entire video.
So
To
Ali
completion.
has seen the whole video. And what did you notice?
Well, I noticed that her waist was cinched more than is normal for her. I don't know how to...
I guess if I did notice that, I might actually be retroactively thinking I noticed it now that we're talking about it. But I would have just assumed it was like they force any female star to wear, like I figured she was
I thought
a
it
waist
was-
trainer,
I
a
thought it
waist
was-
Meghan Trainor.
Yeah, I just thought it was a stylistic choice. Because the rest of the video, her waist is
Yeah, it was
how
very
it
much
usually
her.
is. Yeah. But
Well,
then she's
apparently.
glammed up and she has this super tiny waist. And
Right.
it just seemed like it went with the whole theme of the video. Glammed up.
Glammed up and super tiny. I'm not
For
sure.
her. For her.
Right.
Yeah, I just thought there was some padding plus cinching, which is kind of par
1-2 punch.
for the course. But anyway, so Meghan got on Snapchat in a series of snaps, and she snapped at her editors.
snap again.
Oh!
The Queen of Sass snapped at her
it's a tongue
editors
twister.
for cinching her waist digitally, and so she said she called the head of Vivo.
The head of Vivo.
Just called him up and said,
As one
take it
does.
down, take it down.
That's sort of what I thought was cool about it. Well, not cool, but I mean, stories about photoshopping are like dime a dozen nowadays. But I like the idea that she was just like, I assumed enough authority to call the person who published my video and just demanded he or she take it down. And that's what happened.
And my counterpoint to that is it's embarrassing that she didn't see the final version of the video.
I was puzzled by
Also
that.
very
Right.
true.
I was very puzzled by that. Yeah.
Which I think I heard her say on Watch What Happens Live when I heard the post-game report that fans had been sending her screenshots from the dance sequence, and it wasn't until then that she realized, like, ooh, that's not
I'm
my
100%
waist.
confident that's what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. That she learned it from fans
Right.
for sure. And I also, in the snaps, she said at first she was like, they fixed my waist and I didn't know they were going to do that. And I know who technically fixed her waist was like the digital editors did it. But I didn't know exactly who the they in that. It spoke to a larger question of who was making these decisions.
Yeah.
And who makes these decisions.
Especially since she does seem to be an artist who's so involved in what she produces and what's sort of sent out there.
Right.
Right. She definitely gives that impression. I mean, she writes her music.
Right.
And her song No was apparently because she got in a fight with L.A. Reid and was like, oh, you don't think I have a hit? All right, I'm going to show you I have a hit. That's
was
the
his
story
secret
anyway.
revenge.
Yes. So we don't think that this was concocted in any way. We're not cynical. We think this is legitimate that she...
Oh, you mean the idea that she could have known that it was cinched
Mm-hmm.
and then said later, like, pled ignorance? Okay.
Well,
I don't think so.
mean, here's the thing. If I were famous and I had a music video and they did that, they altered my body,
Yeah.
I might look at it later and say, wow, I look so good.
Right.
You know?
I mean,
Right.
that is definitely, I'm of two minds about it. And I said earlier before the recording that there was an interview with Tina Fey. Oh, no, actually, she said it in Bossy Pants, where she was saying everyone rails against Photoshopping, but there was one exquisite Photoshop job I got from like Bust Magazine. I just wish that I could have that all the time because didn't make her look like a body hairless alien, but just like a slightly better version of herself.
Right.
I wouldn't be mad at that.
And that sort of, I think, speaks to that whole exchange between Meghan and fans on Twitter, which is like maybe she did feel one way and was sort of swayed to feel another way about it. And who really knows what anyone thinks nowadays until someone says something.
Well, and she's really
Yeah.
built her whole her whole not empire. She's built her whole. And it's not marketing strategy either, but like her image is so contingent upon that like aggressively pro body positive. So I do understand why it would send a contradictory message, and that is why I'm of two minds about it, because on one hand, I fully support people like Meghan Trainor and Zendaya and Rumor Willis coming out and saying, hey, that's not what my body looks like. You changed it because, impressionable young women should know that they don't really look like that. But at the same time, we're in the age of Facetune and filters and camera cases that have a mirror in them, so you get a perfect light. And I just feel like we're all editing ourselves at this point. Yeah. So it's, which are we doing? Are we editing ourselves, and are we all throwing a filter or two on her? Or are we all expressing what we really look like? It's just very confusing.
I didn't think about her kind of getting caught, so to speak, by maybe she was happy with it, but then she felt like compelled to be like, oh, wait, I shouldn't present myself that way because of my current streak of body positivity.
If she had ignored the outrage, it might have implicitly said, like, I don't care what anyone have to say or if this offends you. And I think that probably really shook her a little bit.
Regardless, she is dancing, whether we've asked for it or not, which I think is definitely a statement of confidence. She's so confident.
She's really confident.
Confident, sassy.
If you try to knock her down,
sasspot,
you'll find that you can't knock her down.
Won't be stopped. The sass won't be stopped.
No. The M train
sass right in your face.
Won't be stopped. It won't be making any
express. Went straight to Sasstown.
Sure is.
Not gonna stop.
One-way ticket.
Yeah, so did any of you listen to the album like me?
I don't know where to stream it.
It is streaming weirdly, and I think this is a new thing, a pre-release stream on Apple Music, and I think she might be one of the first ones to have ever had that done, because there's listen early on iTunes. There was that, but I think this is now like the Apple Music.
That was definitely a thing with like Apple Radio. I feel like
there was a first listen thing with iTunes, but this I think is probably the Apple Music version of it, which I thought.
I don't understand the difference.
Because iTunes is iTunes and this is Apple Music. Like, this is the free stream.
I couldn't find it on Apple. I'm just, never mind.
I mean, well, it's there. And I have to say, it's above average.
Oh,
I would even say it's good.
Okay.
Which, I have a very interesting relationship with her. I've crossed this path of, I no longer think it's an ironic appreciation of her music, because there are songs like Better that are legitimately good, and you catch yourself.
Better is a good, but it's exactly right, because I texted all of you to say that I was just minding my own in my house, and it came on, and I was like, who's that? Oh, Meghan Trainor. Wasn't expecting it. She is
the queen of, who is this? Oh,
yeah.
Oh,
that was
exactly.
That was a more stealthy sass than her usual. That's why.
That's how, and
she sassed right up on me.
For people who might not know, she's written several songs for different artists, from hits. Rascal Flatts to J-Lo to Fifth Harmony. The very good Sledgehammer.
Love that song.
So I think she's actually a pretty dynamic songwriter, but not so much vocally, because I think a lot of people are like, oh, this is a good Rihanna Fifth Harmony song. Like, I don't think she has that distinctive a voice.
You don't think that she is a Grammy-winning vocalist?
Well, she literally is. So that's something which we have to deal with, because she put it in her video.
Right. I haven't listened to the whole thing, admittedly, but would you say it's like a very pronounced departure from the whole bass era?
Yeah.
No more 60s
well, that
doo-wop.
song, the Mom song, that's literally called Mom,
right?
Is about, which I was at first afraid was a song about like Tumblr commenters who were
that
like, Mom,
slang,
until Lord. Yeah, but
that's
it's actually
about
clever. It's about her actual mother. And that
who's
song
now
is,
a Billboard charted artist.
Yeah, who
thanks to that
now
song.
had a credit on the song and is now charting a Billboard. But that song had harkened back to the doo-wop thing. And then, the rest are kind of like a turn of the century. That sounds like also oldie-timey.
Yeah.
Like a late 90s, early 2000s,
Yes.
Destiny's Childish play, which I think is a very canny move, going for the dance floor anthem like that, the empowerment anthem. But I don't know how I feel about her new urban vocals.
I just don't get it, because I know she was. It's such a stark contrast, and while she was sort of doing that like Dear Mr. Husband thing, wasn't she also writing these types of songs? So it's like she was doing both, and now just has sort of like crossed over from just writing these songs into now like assuming that type of identity.
Well, did any of you listen to her last album? because I did.
Oh,
Go on.
Here we go.
And she does have songs that are very much with that whole
Okay.
urban speaking type.
Right.
Like there's a song
Seriously.
called Bang Dem Sticks.
I did hear about it. I refused to listen
How
on
did,
principle.
and how
but
did it go?
I don't, I
Give
can't,
us a
I
little-
can't, no, you know, this thing, it's not
You
gonna
know
happen.
it damn well.
Was it like bang them sticks, bang them sticks,
That's-
bang them sticks? I'm gonna keep singing it till you sing it.
I can't, I can't do that. I won't have my voice permanently recorded singing that.
That's
No,
how that
but
song
you
went.
guys should listen to her. I was going to ask you if you listened to it to see how different it
So
is.
it's not
from
that
this
much
one.
of a departure. Maybe.
Oh, I don't know. I haven't listened to the new one.
Interesting. I definitely didn't. I remember that song, people talking about it, and me just refusing on principle because of that name of that song.
Oh yeah, there's another song on there about one night stands too.
Oh,
Which is that from
Meg.
experience? Because everything she's talking about during
It's
this
a lot
era
of
is how
confusing
nobody will date her.
messages.
She's very confident
Right.
about the fact that
That was
nobody will
mine.
date her.
mixed messages and
Well, there was a bit of a
self-love.
"Come Here, Get Away From Me" in her popular songs from the last album. Now I'm qualifying
Yes.
as popular songs and not bang them
True.
sticks.
A lot of rules before you'll even get the chance to date Meghan Trainor.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Dear future husband. Yeah.
Right.
I now no longer know where I stand with her.
It's a journey.
I think I
But
am
you know you're standing tall. If
I'm a
you're next to
light-
Megan, you're standing tall.
light potty trainer.
Why, is
as,
she
as
short?
her fan base is
No, I
called
just
in
mean,
my
like, she's very secure and sure in herself. So like,
Oh, yeah. Right. She raises us all up. I respect her as a songwriter and
Sure, yeah.
and a music direction decision maker. I'll say that.
Really?
Yeah. Well, like I said, I think it's a very like savvy move of her to have these like dance floor anthems and come
Speaking-
back with that.
Do you think that she's kind of weirdly pioneered the late 90s, early 2000s move in pop that's going to be taking over? Do you think this is just the beginning, or do you think this was an anomaly that...
I think it's just the beginning. I think she's definitely a major force in bringing the Velvet Choker back, along with
Oh,
Ariana
yes.
Grande, who is definitely holding down with songs like "Be Alright," is
Yes.
holding down that late '90s house vibe.
Yes, definitely the voguing.
Yeah. So I feel like she's definitely a major player in the choker popularity community.
Chokers are so back.
Mm-hmm.
They are. Kristen Cavalieri
have
fans
one.
were joyous.
But the thing is, I think they look cool.
They do look cool.
They look
Like-
pretty
Is
cool.
this
They've
to say
always
you might
been
sport
cool.
one?
I always liked the 90s look
Yeah.
of the chokers. I was never mad at it, but it's back in such like a almost amusing way. We were walking down the Lower East Side at like 1 a.m. on Saturday, because obviously, and it was like all the girls walking by, we were like laughing because every girl had a choker. It wasn't even like, it was not hyperbole. Everyone was.
Yep.
And it's
New
just like
Snapchat filter, apply choker.
a choker
Different
snap.
designs, different artists, different tightnesses.
We'll get there.
Well, okay.
It's gonna get
But-
there.
Yeah. So I think in some way though that we kind of called it with our gallery, of course,
On
the
PopCrush.com.
2000s are back on PopCrush.com.
Mm-hmm.
That not only visually, but sonically, the music might be coming back. And Meghan
choker
Trainor,
music, yeah,
Trainor,
definitely.
Meghan Trainor.
Meghan Trainor.
I feel like what's kind of cool about her is I don't know if it was even so much a plan as it was just her being in a room being like, you know what I want to do? And just like doing that. That's sort of the impression that I got of what she did on the last, or her last era, I guess. I don't know what to, how to
yes,
qualify
it's an era.
that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I mean, there wasn't much of that going on. I don't think there's been a lot of it since then, but it was still very popular, and I felt like it was just something she just wanted to do, so she did.
I think so. I think, and I will say, she did earn some points for me, biased, because they sat her down at a news show and they made her watch the Britney No mashup that like went viral, the like overprotected No mashup, and she was like, all my dreams are coming true, or however she talks, which is like a
Who
weird
knows?
like.
All my dreams are coming true.
Oh wow, that's exactly
Bottle
what she
goose.
said.
That's what she says.
And so I do actually believe that she was kind of like, I want to make the music that I grew up with on, TRL kind of style, which is kind of coming back. Even MTV itself is kind of reinventing, and by bringing that back, the TRL live aspect, they're bringing back
Unplugged.
Unplugged.
Putting the music back in MTV.
But they're doing something weird with Unplugged, right? Aren't they making like a Snapchat
Are there
or
going to
something?
be
That's Cribs is
holograms
gonna be
now, or-
Snapchat.
Oh, that's
Probably
Cribs,
all
yeah.
holograms.
Snapchat.
Cribs is Snapchat, which
Oh.
is probably the worst idea anyone's ever had.
Right. It's just
I don't
like
know. That's about
an
the exact
installment.
attention span
I
I,
was
have
gonna
for
say.
new
Really?
cribs.
But it's such a small frame.
I could spend
Yeah.
days
True.
in Melissa Joan Hart's kitchen, so I don't want to hear anything to the
Whoa.
contrary. I could be in a
Wait,
refrigerator
why her
for minutes.
kitchen?
I just remember that's the last one I remember seeing.
Oh.
So it was just sort of in my
Wait, what
head.
happened?
She was like, I love shot glasses that are from obscure townships all over the country. She's like, here's one from Bismarck. And you know what? I would go through the whole thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
I
had
would
no
expect her to have. I would expect Melissa Joan Hart to have quite the figurine and like cute salt and pepper.
She
shaker
loved gin, which I thought was
collection.
fun. She had a few gins.
Yeah, I don't really know about her cribs. I haven't seen hers. I only really remember Mariah's as my
I mean, of
standout
course.
moment. I mean, that
was
is
a good one.
iconic. And her reality shows.
I remember. Do you remember Lumidee? She had the one hit.
Do I remember Lumidee? I'm glad that we're finally talking about Lumidee on this podcast.
That song
Finally.
is still so good.
Yeah.
So resonant. But
She had a crib?
her cribs was very sad, and she lived in like an efficiency apartment in Los Angeles and had like a little kitchenette, and it was all very qualified, being like, I know it's not much, but it's my own. It was pretty
I like that.
low, literally low rent, and I enjoyed it.
Oh, no.
Because so many cribs were like a clearly rented house. And most of the people don't have that house
That's
now,
true.
or anything approaching that house.
That is true.
That is true.
I dare say Lumidee might be living in a nicer apartment now, and that's nice to think about.
And still aspirational for me. I
That's
would love
definitely
to
still
have
aspirational,
Lumidee's
for sure.
apartment.
Also, I feel like celebrities probably don't show their houses because everyone's going to try and stalk them and stuff. And I
Yeah.
feel like that age
Yeah.
is
and
kind
it's
of
easy
over.
enough now anyway
Yeah.
to just.
You can
social
take a
media.
bus and see Harry Styles' new haircut
That's
if
right.
you wanted to.
Oh yeah, that was a real thing. Allie explained.
That's literally real.
Okay, that's great. It is
Allie,
real.
where are you
really
going
can.
after this? Tell us what you're doing.
I wish. Just kidding. I would never invade his privacy like that.
But tell people what people are literally doing.
Well, you can take a bus and it goes right past his house, and if you look on the top
in London.
in London, and if you look, I guess you can see over into his garden in his backyard and see
Where
if he's
constantly
there.
Often
sitting,
gardening.
sipping
Yeah,
tea.
I'm sure he's just hanging out there
Pruning,
waiting
yeah.
for people to take pictures from the top of the bus.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is a thing apparently people are doing. And yet no one
Right.
has a picture of his new hair.
Right, because this is what we're all waiting to see is his new hair, which
This is what I am specifically.
Specifically,
I
Allie's
wake
waiting
up and
to
check Twitter every day.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm more interested to see like what topsoil he chooses.
That too. Yeah, go back to his
I'm
backyard.
pretty curious about it, or like what bulbs he has.
Now, a photo did come out, right? A few photos of him wearing a hat.
Wearing a
paper
hat.
which doesn't even count.
He's
and there
worn
was
hats
hair
for
poking out
years.
everywhere. So I'm like,
Yeah.
how
It
was
different is the hair?
disarray.
after
No,
the
it's
garden?
very different.
Oh.
You can see, please.
You
It was
are
long,
very
and
adamant
now
about
it's
that.
There was a lunge that just happened for those of you who
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
see.
I was
what's
attacked.
It's
going
up to
on.
his ears. I mean, it's short.
It's up to his ears.
Thank
Wow.
God.
And what does he do with the hair? He said he did. Didn't they
He
do some-
donated it to charity.
Yeah,
Which
it was
is
like a
very
locks
nice.
of love
Selfless
situation. So
But did you see the ponytail? Who wants that? It's
Wait,
so.
No, I didn't.
split
There was
ends
oh yeah,
galore.
he Instagrammed it,
But
right?
at least he did it. He's so.
Yeah, they're gonna make a
heart
little-
of gold.
Honestly, he really
wig for a little kid? They'll need a little hair.
Imagine being the
Okay.
kid. Oh my gosh, that's great.
Well, the kid has cancer.
Okay.
So I wouldn't.
No.
I wouldn't quite call them a lucky kid.
Okay, I didn't
but,
say lucky, but you
you
know,
know.
I hope they're a fan. That would
Yeah,
be even
I
better.
do hope that.
Maybe it's for
Be
Louis'
wonderful.
made-up baby.
Oh, that's a
For
topic for, another
privacy.
time.
Wait for privacy.
I mean, yeah. Cool. We're going to throw it to our interview with Max, who just came in to the studio to talk about his new album and his upcoming tour, his basement party tour involving underwear parties. We're going to find out a little bit more about that. Today, we are joined by a very special guest, recording artist Max.
Hello. What's up, baby?
How you doing?
Chilling, baby. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, definitely. So you said you just got off a flight?
Yeah. I took a red eye from La La Land last night. And
Yeah.
So it's that crazy feeling like where we get here and then I take like a 4-hour nap and then but you still feel crazy. So
Yeah, right off to doing more work.
Oh yeah, but it's nice. It's nice. I'm sure I'll just crash tonight when I get home and all
Perfect.
that stuff.
What were you doing the video?
I just kind of split my time between the two. I'm from Hell's Kitchen, New York, and then
Right.
I have a little spot in LA that I go back and forth to, and we shot the basement party video last week, which was real cool, and just been recording a bunch of stuff, like a bunch of these features for DJs and stuff, which is cool. We've been doing like a fun thing where I've been wanting to do a ton of remixes for the record, and so it's been cool to be like, yo, instead of like just in a natural way, be like, hey, you want to do a remix for my song? I'd love to do a feature on one of your songs. So I've been doing like 3 or 4 of those this week, which is cool.
Oh, nice. Can you tell us any of the DJs?
Oh man, I mean, I would be happy to, but it would suck if it didn't happen, if it didn't come out.
Oh, right,
but,
right.
But
There's always that.
There's one I'm like super excited about, and there's always the like, oh yeah, I'm so excited, and then they're like, oh, actually that person moved to Italy and they're never doing music again or something
Right.
like that, you know? And you're
Always
like,
happens.
oh man, that sucks. I wish that they told me that. So anyway, yeah.
Cool. So why don't we talk about the video? a little
Yeah,
bit?
let's do it, yeah.
So tell us what happened.
Sweet, yeah. So, you know, the song Basement Party, I've been off of the record. It's called Hell's Kitchen Age. I'm from Hell's Kitchen. It's not named after the Gordon Ramsay show or you know, Daredevil or anything like that.
I didn't think of that, but now I'm going to think of that.
People
I did
always
think of Daredevil.
I have gotten so many like tweets that are like, "Yo, why did you name your album after the Gordon Ramsay show?" I'm like, just because I love food. Like, I don't know, it's tight.
Hit him up, see if you could do some plugs on the
Yeah,
show
let's
now.
do some plugs. Let's
Yeah.
do
Like a screaming feature.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm from the neighborhood. My mom's lived in the same apartment for 41 years in Hell's Kitchen and stuff. And anyway, this song off the record, you know, I didn't really, you know, love going to clubs growing up. I was always a very small, you know, gentleman in the club, and I couldn't see anything. And I just like wanted to have parties in my place. So
I
the song's
relate.
really all about, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, vertically challenged humans, fun sized humans. But so I did this song with somebody I've always looked up to, John Bellion, who's awesome. His record's coming out. He's awesome. And so he did the song with me, and it's all about, you know, cut that. I'm having a basement party. I don't know if I can do the cleaner, non-clean version on this, but I can say, well, okay, so then it's fuck that. I'm having a basement
Yeah.
party. So anyway, great.
Yeah.
Love
Whoa. Family podcast.
But you know, it's like, don't go to the club. I heard that One Oak was popping. Fuck that, I'm having a basement party. So we not only for the official video, which is coming out in a little bit, we did this crazy underwear party where it's like I'm outside this club and I see the line and like there's all this hoity-toity LA crap, and I'm like, nah. I see this waitress come out and she's like getting undressed, going into this alley. I'm like, what's going on there? And so I follow her into this basement, which sounds sketch, but it wasn't sketch. I hope it doesn't come across as sketch. And then I get to the basement, and then I have to get in my underwear. And then it's just, we actually had this underwear party. And we didn't know how it would be, because it's like, it doesn't matter if there's like homies or extras who are pro actors, whatever it is. Like, it still could be kind of a weird vibe if you're just having this underwear party.
Sure.
And it ended up being awesome. It was like my first underwear party, which I hope it's not my last, because it's just this beautiful experience where after a little bit, everybody starts like kind of being stoked about their body, and they don't think about it. Like, you're not looking around. You'd think that you're like looking around at everybody's stuff, and you're not. You're just like, you just suddenly become connected with this group of people you've never met. And one of my favorites was one of my homies came. I had like a group of homies come throughout the day, and people kept like wanting to join in that were just watching, which is so cool. I was like, they're like, yo, can I just jump in right now? I'm like, yo, get in your underwear. But one of my homies, it was a beautiful thing I didn't even think of. There was this one guy who looks just like Action Bronson, and he just didn't give a fuck. He was just chilling all day. He's just like, loves who he is, and he was like the star of the video. I hope he's in the whole video, because he's just slaying. And my friend comes in, he's a bigger guy, and he didn't know there was an underwear thing. He was like, oh, I don't know if I want to be a part. It's cool. Like, I was like, nah, man, it's cool. And he saw this guy.
Yeah.
And in seeing him, he was like, you know what? Fuck it. And he got in his underwear, and it was like this really cool experience that I never thought I would, you know, feel with, especially with this friend of mine. I never even thought about that. And then throughout the day, he just like didn't think about it at all. He was just comfortable with his body, and it was really cool that he felt that way. So anyway, but the video got crazy. We did, you know, like underwear twister and like all this different, you know, just fun stuff. And so I'm excited. I haven't even seen the cut of the video yet, so I hope it's cool, and we'll have it out pretty soon. And then on the opposite end, of course, the song, you know, being about these basement parties, and like in high school, I always threw the parties in my place and whatever else. We're doing this basement party tour where we took submissions from, you know, kids and colleges and whatever else, and we're just going across the country throughout the summer and doing basement parties in actual people's houses and at colleges and stuff. And we're gonna film the whole thing, and so I'm excited for that. We got the first one happening in a few weeks in Arizona, so we'll see how it
At a
goes.
sorority, right?
At a sorority,
and
yeah.
that's going to be an underwear party
Yeah,
as
is that
well?
gonna be
I don't know. Honestly, we're kind of
Yeah.
going to all these with no plans and just
Yeah.
like kind of hoping for the best.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm definitely expecting them to be weird, and then if they're not, that's cool. Or if they're weird, that's cool too.
So
you
it
know?
could be a clothing
pants
optional.
optional.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
pants
pants
optional.
optional.
They'll be like, oh, we saw the video, we thought that's what we're doing, and I
Yeah.
was like, okay, yeah, sure.
You
let's
could
do that.
you could really start a movement, I think.
I'm hoping, you know,
Yeah.
that'd be pretty tight.
Yeah.
Not mad about it.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So tell us a little bit about the album itself.
Sure.
It just came out.
Yeah, totally. No, it's my first album, which I've been putting out EPs and singles for a bit, and it's the first time I really do feel this fulfillment of sorts, like this chapter is actually, you know, closed and I can move on to whatever else. But it feels wonderful. It's really, you know, encapsulates my life in the last, you know, 5 years. One song, the title track, Hell's Kitchen Angel, I wrote the longest ago, like 4 years ago, and it's about meeting someone in my neighborhood and whatever else. But, you know, it kind of goes throughout the last few years, and even there's a song in there called Home, which is very special to me, which is about a pregnancy scare I had recently, and it was the first time I had to realize
You were not pregnant.
I was not pregnant. Yeah, not yet.
That would be scary.
That'd be scary.
Yeah.
Well,
Scientifically
and
exciting.
exciting. You know, some science would get in there. But it was the first. So the song kind of just goes through how I felt throughout the night, like how your life kind of flashes before you, and you're like, am I ready to be the father at this time of my life at 23? Am I ready for that? You know, it just sort of shows that, you know, age doesn't really matter. It's just about where you're specifically at. And
That's
so
a pretty blunt topic too, considering, you know, you must have some younger fans as well.
Yeah,
considering-
definitely.
Yeah. But you get to be honest on the record.
And that's what I always think. I think that, you know, coming from, you know, doing like Nickelodeon stuff and whatever else, like I'm totally cool with my past, you know. It's and some, you know, if people, you know, just have seen that stuff and recognize, that's cool. But for me, it's always about not being filtered. If I can be, if I'm on Radio Disney and I'm talking about it, like I won't say fuck that I'm having a basement party, but like at the same time, I just, you know, I do want to be completely honest, and that's, you know, something I hope to bring with my music to the sphere, because there's so many people, you know, so many people out there wanting to share their work. So for me, you have to be as honest as you can with your music. And so there's songs like that, and then there's this song Lights Down Low, which is very special to me, which is about, you know, the greatest love of my life and stuff. And yeah, that's been one that's been cool to see people responding to that, and it's the first time I've kind of noticed, like, in other countries, people are really, you know, responding about it as well, like in like other Norwegian territories, and we've been getting a lot of like love from there for that specific song, which is cool. It always blows my mind to think that people are listening, you know, in different places, not just, you know, right around where I'm from or whatever.
Right,
else.
right.
Yeah.
Songs
Yeah.
are different around different countries. People have different reactions. Can you tell us about the song and the inspiration? You said it's the love of your life.
Great. Yeah. So it's about, you know, it's just sort of knowing the one, I guess, or just feeling that you found that person that you're so connected with, and it was sort of the beginning. Like, I'd say half the record it's all honest to my life, but half the record I kind of, in the last few years, I'd say my writing, I'd try to be more clever and less just completely unfiltered. And this was one of the first songs about halfway through that I realized I just wanted to be completely honest with the writing. And that sort of became the trend for the rest of it. But I didn't want to take away from the other songs. They're all honest, but sometimes you just, maybe you throw in a clever line rather than be like, yo, I almost had a baby, that kind of thing. You know, like,
so with the older songs, you didn't go back and touch those at all?
Not really. Like, even the Hell's Kitchen Angel song, I mean, it's honest. It talks about the A train and meeting this girl when I got off the A train and in my neighborhood and whatever else. But it's not like, I'm not talking about, you know, a pregnancy scare or something like that with that person. It's more about just the colors around this relationship, and for that song, I really, for the first time, felt like I dug as deep as I could into what the relationship meant to me. And it was really a wonderful feeling to actually, you know, it's very therapeutic songwriting. You just sort of encapsulate these stories and so that you can kind of look back at them in a safe way, and so for that, it's definitely one of the most special on the record for me, and it's really cool that, you know, it's been heard, which is awesome.
Now, does the album have any other special memories tied to New York? Obviously, it's named after Hell's Kitchen.
Totally, yeah. I mean, a lot. It all kind of derives back to New York. Like, every song, whether it's the Hell's Kitchen Angel song or Basement Party about having the parties in my crib or whatever else, you know, they all sort of have little references to New York, and you know, I kind of carry New York everywhere I go with me, and that's, you know, that's why I wanted to name the record after, you know, where I'm from, and it just sort of came together. And it also sort of is two different sides of my personality. I have a very, I'm a majority a very happy guy, and I just love dancing around and singing and stuff. But then I have some really dark moments, and that's sort of the where the Hell's Kitchen comes from as well. What that represents to me in the angel part. But there's one song in there, the last song that actually ends the record, which was one of the last ones I wrote. It's called Lost My Way, and it's about a teacher of mine who passed away recently, and he passed away uptown, and it was a big moment for me because I don't I don't talk about the hospital he passed away or anything, but he was a huge influence on my life. His name was Leith, and I grew up a little bit in Woodstock, New York, upstate a little bit too, and he was my teacher up there, and he just was one of the first people that just taught me to be creative and be who you are no matter what, and not, not be ashamed of it. And the song is really about that I didn't get to see him before he passed away. We're on tour, whatever. You have so many things in your life. Everybody's got the things. You can sometimes put off those things, and I didn't. I didn't make the time to see him. I thought he had more time. And that song was sort of about that. It's, me losing my way, getting lost in this sort of, in the blinders of going straight for what my dreams and whatever else. But you always have to make time for the people that matter. And that was a big moment for me, especially with this, with this moment in my life. And that's what New York's about. If he's uptown, it doesn't matter. Just take the train and say what's up. Like, make the time,
It's a good takeaway message.
Totally. Yeah.
So you were talking about being busy all the time. You were just on tour, right? You
Yeah,
came off a tour with R5.
Yeah, which was super fun. It's it's been really interesting. They're great guys. They're such a wonderful family. I have a bowling night every week in LA, and they came out to that, and it's fun.
Are you good?
I'm sometimes good and majority bad, and people are like, because I have a ball and shoes and all the stuff, and everybody's like, yo, you better be good. I'm like, not always, which sucks. I'm super embarrassed, but it's just, I love it just because it's like a fun way to bring people together from all different walks of life, and so they all came out to that like a couple weeks ago, which was fun. And just their squad is like 12 people because they're like a pretty big family, and then with all their friends and whatever else. But the actual, it was such a wonderful experience touring with them. We played the Beacon Theater here in New York, which was amazing, and some really wonderful theaters that I've always dreamed of playing, which was cool. And going from like the Fall Out Boy Wiz tour to that tour, very different vibes,
Probably a different audience.
But I love it because, especially opening, like I've opened for a lot of tours, and it makes you realize, what the human connection is regardless of the vibe of the music. Like some of the songs, there's a song on my record called Wrong, which is definitely a little racy for the crowds that we were playing, but I still wanted to play it because it's like, I'm not, it's the title line is, it's better when it feels wrong, but it's not about like, as long as you're not hurting anybody, if you join the Mile High Club and you're not hurting anybody, that's sort of what the song's about. It's like, it's not a big deal, just like, it's kind of fun. It feels a little better. And I'm sure like some of the 8-year-olds in the crowd were like, the parents were probably like, yo, what's going on? Don't sing this song. Like, I thought we were coming for family fun. But it was cool just because even figuring out musically what brings that audience together, whether it is a crowd of college kids that are smoking cigars or it's 8-year-olds, like you really realize too with little kids, if a song resonates with a little kid just musically, they don't know what's being sung, like that's when something feels kind of special. Like if they're dancing or they're just into it, it's really fascinating because they don't give a fuck. Kids are the ultimate no give of fucks, funny enough. They just do what they like, and if they're not into something, they're like, I don't like this, stop playing this.
Totally.
So it was kind of cool. They're a tougher crowd than a lot of Fall Out Boy Wiz crowds. So,
I can imagine. Yeah.
So
Did you face any difficulties with that crowd?
With the Fall Out Boy Wiz crowd? Oh yeah. I mean, it's. I always say tours war when you're opening because it's like you get out there and everybody's like, I'm just here for Fall Out Boy. I'm just here for Wiz. Who the fuck is this guy? And that's always fun if I can take away a few people that have never heard the music before and they're like, oh, I never heard it before today, but now I want to check it out. Yeah. Like that's always the goal. That's all I go out for. And so there was definitely, there was tough crowds on that tour. But of course, it was it was incredible to get to tour with them, and Hoodie Allen, who's on the Gibberish song, was also on the tour. It all kind of came together in a funny way, and we would do that song every night, and it was just interesting to see that for the majority, people had never heard any of the music, and if they got into any song, that was always that was the greatest Quan feeling of respect. Like, oh cool, you're into this and you never heard it. That's awesome. Yeah.
Now you also have, to switch it up a little bit. You have covers on YouTube and things like that have taken off clearly. YouTube culture is very interesting right now. Totally. What have you experienced have you gotten like a whole different fan base from that? And what is that whole
internet kids are really interesting. I've just recently started to feel better about it because there's so much hate on the internet in so many ways. For sure. Of course.
Don't read the comments.
But it's like, and even if I do, I try to remind myself, the biggest thing I realized recently is that haters or trolls, whatever you want to call it, just people trying to connect with other people. And like, even in hating, you're just giving your opinion. And if somebody else connects with that opinion, then you're stoked about it. You're giving that opinion because you'd like to connect with other people on how you feel. And I try to remind myself that if it's with my music or something I've said or whatever else, that's what it is. It's not just for the majority, maybe there's a 1% that they're just total assholes. And
I was going to say, I would say about maybe 50% of trolls.
Maybe 50%. Yeah. And it always sucks. I always try to ignore it for the most part, but every once in a while, if I can, and I probably shouldn't, but if I can directly, hit somebody up and be like, yo, like that, I'm a person. You don't have to say that. Like, I don't know you. I've never met you. Like, you could just say I'm not into your music or I'm not into that thing you said. But like to say like go die, I hate you. Like I don't know you. You don't know me. Like that would be terrible if I said that. You know.
Yeah.
So it's this one thing that's interesting about internet culture. I've taken it away, but yeah, definitely recently feeling more like trying to brush it off more. It's hard not to feel that way. Like you feel so shitty when somebody hates on something.
Totally.
But that's the interesting thing about YouTube culture, and then it's interesting. A lot of YouTube friends of mine or whatever else, it's beautiful because it's your own entity. That's the one thing I've always taken away, is that you suddenly have this place where you can put out your own content, whatever that is, and you have a safe place to do that, whether people are into it or not. You know, you don't have to rely on everybody else. So that's the one thing that's wonderful about YouTube culture. But then on the other end, you can't make content that is just for, you know, hopefully for the masses. You know, you got to make content that you believe in, because too many people are. That's the amazing thing about all these social medias, is that anybody can do it and anybody can blow up.
Right.
And that's, you know, that's what's the wonderful opportunity, but also the pressure of having to, you know, create something that's true to you, that's different than everybody else.
Well, I feel like being yourself, the idea of like being yourself really hard, which is a big theme of YouTube culture. Like even that can be pressure and become like sort of homogenous in its own way sometimes. So it's like kind of like a returning to the well of like, what is myself? What do I care about?
Definitely.
But so going back to what you were saying about trolls, did you find yourself like actually engaging people and like trying to change their mind or get where they're coming from?
Totally. And for the most part, when I try to engage them, and I try to do it less and less, because it like never makes me feel good. Like for the most part, I'm not getting a troll being like, you're right. I shouldn't be that way. Yeah. It's for the most part, it's like, well, whatever, you know, whatever it is. But I definitely have hit up a few when they say something that's just totally outrageous. And I just hope that if it's like, especially if it's a younger kid or it's something like, especially like middle school, high school culture now is like, you see everybody's on their phones and whatever else. And it's beautiful that everybody has a voice, but I think that people should be responsible for their actions more so. And I think that the internet gives this sort of anonymous place where you feel like you can just say anything. But in the end, like you've got your Twitter handle or whatever else, you got your picture on there, usually whatever. It's like, you're a person and people see that, and you wouldn't feel good if somebody just like mindlessly hated you, you know? Right. So whenever I do, I try to be like, yo, that like wasn't too cool. It's cool if you're not into it, but like hopefully you can like give it another chance or something, you know? But I've definitely had some, like I've said some stupid shit on the internet and it's gotten, you know, bad reactions, and you say things so quickly. Oh yeah, you say things so quickly, and it doesn't matter your intention. Like it's whatever the words on the phone are all that matter in the end. And if you misinterpret it in any way, like there's nothing you could do. It doesn't matter if you apologize, doesn't matter anything. And I've definitely said some shit where I like didn't mean it in the way that it was written, or it wasn't misinterpreted. But then I look back and I'm like, wow, I should have definitely written that differently, because I'm sure it's misinterpreted.
We all make that mistake. I do it every day.
Dude.
The only difference is with a public persona, people will go back 4 years and
find
one
contradictory.
They're
like, isn't that the guy who is a you know, a misogynist pig? I'm like, yo, what the fuck? Like, where's that coming from? Whoa. And then like and it's so interesting too. What's amazing is to see like you say, you know, weeks go by and you just keep posting your usual shit and nothing happens, and then out of nowhere you post one thing and then all these people come out and you're like, have you been watching everything?
And
like,
they
do
have.
you wait?
Lurking.
They do.
Do you wait? That's the one thing I do wonder. I'm like, you're not following or anything? Do you just lurk my page and just check it out and then see if I fucked up yet? Like that's what's incredible about that culture.
That means you're doing something right, though.
I guess
for real.
so. Yeah, totally. So anyway.
I have to ask about this, even though it's like ancient at this point.
Give it to me.
You did a shoot with Madonna.
I knew you were gonna ask.
Yeah, well, obviously I have to ask.
Beautiful.
What was that like?
It's crazy, man.
Yeah.
I talk a lot, so let me just do the story in a short way.
Okay.
I had never modeled before. I was always just doing acting stuff. I was a smaller gentleman, so modeling wasn't really a thing that I thought would ever happen. And this guy like kind of scouted me, and he was like, yo, will you go to this thing? I go after school, whatever. I get there. They take a couple pictures. I'm thinking like, I'm not going to get there. So there's all these busky Italian men. I like leave, get my hair cut. A few days later, he calls me. He's like, yo, you kind of got that thing with Madonna. The catch is that they choose another boy too. The casting director chose one, and she chose you. So you're going to show up tomorrow, and they're going to choose between you on set. And I was like, that's insane. Okay, like I don't know what to do. It's not like I can like prepare, you know, a monologue. It's like I just have to show up and look.
Or a routine.
Like
you could have had a little choreograph.
Exactly.
You know?
Maybe I'm like, yo, wait 1 sec. Let me just do the Charles thing. But I go, and of course I'm thinking about the hair, whatever. I get there, crazy security. It's up in Harlem. I go in, Men in Black style. There's all these security guards. Nobody speaks English. It's all Japanese or Italian. But somebody like kind of rushes me in. They're like, "Oh, you Max?" I'm like, "Yeah." So they bring me in, and they're doing all the hair stuff, and they're all speaking different languages. And I'm just waiting for this thing to go down. Like, when are they going to choose between us? Finally, after like literally an hour and a half, this British guy comes in, and he's like, "Why aren't you dressed?" And I was like, "I'm waiting for this casting thing. What are you talking about?" And he's like, "Has nobody talked to you all morning?" And I was like, "No." And he's like, "Oh yeah, well you've had the job all day. They fired the other kid last night, like late last night. Nobody told you that?" I was like, "Yeah, nobody told me that." And he's like, "All right, cool. Well, let's go." And so I go into this bathroom, and we're in there, and it's a tiny little bathroom. And after this stand-in has chilled with me for a second, they're like, "Oh, she's coming." So she walks, just opens the door. I'm thinking lights are gonna beam out and like the heavens are gonna open.
Oh yeah.
And she walks in, very powerful, small human, coconut water with a straw in hand, sips a little bit, gives it to her assistant. And then she was like, "Hi, what's your name?" And I was like, "Max." And she was like, "Nice to meet you, Max." And then she starts dancing with me. And I was supposed to I'm like, "You don't have to introduce yourself. I know you are." Like,
yeah, right.
And so she starts dancing with me. I was supposed to be disgusted. She's my mother in this Italian, it's based off this old Italian film.
Yep.
I'm dancing with her, and she's like, I'm making these faces because that's how we rehearsed it. She's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I don't know. What do you want me to do? Like, what am I doing wrong?" And she takes the small of my back. She lifts me up. And she goes, "I'll teach you how to dance." And I was
God.
like,
It's classic Madonna power.
I was like, "Oh my God." And so we start dancing, and I was only supposed to be in that one shot. And then it became this like sort of surreal play date where she was just like, "No, come with me." And
you were
like,
outside in shots.
Yeah, we did like 5 shots in this shoot. And the most amazing thing I always tell the story is that the last shot, it kept building, like more Italian people were coming in, and there were chickens. It was just like more and more people. And the last scene was supposed to be like 30 people, like in this big like thing outside. And she was like, "I don't want to do that shot anymore. Let's just go out. Me and Max will walk down the street with groceries." And like nobody even questioned it. Like all of a sudden everybody's like, "All right." And they'd run on the street. They like put a grocery bag together. And of course the whole day it was so much security, but they didn't have time to make a perimeter around this area. We were doing this walk. So of course all the paparazzi come in. I've never experienced that. I'm like a little 17-year-old, like, "Well, what's going on?" Taking all these pictures of her, and they're freaking out. And after that shot, 10 minutes later, we're done with the shot. And they're like, "All right, you can go home." And I always said the next day. So I'm like, "All right, cool, thank you." The next day, my dad goes to the gym and he sees the papers they're all like, "Who's Madonna's new fetus boyfriend?"
Yes. And I remember that coming out.
And she knew exactly what she was doing.
Yes.
It's brilliant. She just, it was just easy for her. It's the reason why she's still slaying it and doing what she's doing, because she gives no fucks as well. And she knows how to manipulate the media in that way. And she knew that like, oh, cool, like whatever, might as well make something of this. And
Paparazzi
suddenly
shots. Yeah.
it's like, no, it's actually not. It's this Dolce & Gabbana campaign coming out. And that blew my mind. I had no idea. Like I just didn't think of it at all.
Yeah.
And that was definitely a really incredible moment to experience. And just like this sort of day with her was amazing.
It was just like a whirlwind, and then never heard from her again or anything.
Yeah,
like
I
that.
saw her trainer on the street like a couple months later.
Oh, okay.
She was like, "Oh, Max," and I didn't know who she was. She was like, "Oh, I'm Madra's trainer. Like, we should all hang out sometime." I was like, "Yeah, cool. Let's all hang out sometime.
Yeah, right.
That sounds
Yeah.
good." Like,
Sure.
yeah. And then she just left. It was like so classic. Like, "Oh, like, should I get your number?" Like, "Oh no, whatever. I'll get in touch." Like, no. Okay, cool.
Crazy.
Yeah, but
So
I
crazy.
hope to hang. I hope it'd be cool to hang with her again and see if she remembers our day. I'm sure she has lots of days like that. So,
Well, Madonna, if you're listening,
Madonna.
Max is into hanging
Yo,
out
mama,
again.
We should all
Madonna.
be.
Hit me up, baby. Hit me up. Let's go.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Some Like It Pop. For more, check us out on popcrush.com. Subscribe to us on iTunes. Check us out on YouTube, PopCrush Music.